Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, algo artisans and everybody else. It is 8:33, so apologies for the semi-late start. And we're taking a look here at the euro, EURUSD. Pretty big flip around on this. And we're going to take a look at that, look at Bitcoin, and we'll look at the NASDAQ this morning. And then we'll jump into the private live lab. Go ahead and get your free algo. The link is in the description. Get the free algo, show you how I build algos. And if you are a savvy trader, if you know what you're doing, you can actually, you can optimize that. You might be able to make it profitable. So the euro, and this is relative to the dollar, by the way, and this is going to affect the stock market. Ultimately, it will affect crypto, but we'll see how it does. But long story short, the dollar has been getting weaker, really, against the euro and against a lot of currencies going all the way back to the beginning of the year. If I zoom out, you'll see that the dollar has been heading up compared to the euro up until the beginning of the year. And right as 2025 started, the euro got stronger. And what's been going on is we've had the tariffs, we've had a lot of things changing the world. And so a lot of money returned to the economies. That's the best guess that I have as to what's going on based on, let's just say a lot of it's based on the opinions of people smarter than me. But it looks like a lot of money has kind of gone home, gone to ground, if you will. That's actually the term that was used by Tom Luongo, really well put. And so the dollar has gone weak against the euro, and you had a pretty well-defined uptrend going back to August, right? If you go back to the beginning of the year, a very well-defined uptrend, right? But just in the near term, there has been a solid kind of higher high, higher low uptrend. And the way these trends work is that you have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then a higher low, right? And as long as we have higher highs and higher lows, that is a trend. Now, what we have had here is a lower high. Now, that doesn't mean it can't continue up and we just had a kind of a pullback and the major trend continues. That can happen. It doesn't mean the trend is violated yet, but there's a clear definition to that. Okay. Now, once a trend is violated, the way that one plays that is we look for a couple things. And this is old school, very, very basic trend trading, right? So what we do is we look for this recent higher low to get broken, right? So if this price dips below here, breaks and closes below, the trend is violated. And it doesn't mean that it's out of an uptrend, because this actually could continue up and create an uptrend. But we know that once this breaks this area, right, that technically violates this trend, especially if you see price go up and make a new lower high and continue down. Then you're definitely in a downtrend. But technically, you've got this lower high and then a lower low. And this point right here, when it breaks and closes below here, that's a violation of the uptrend. You're technically no longer in an uptrend. Price would need to rotate and create a new uptrend to be in an uptrend at that point. Now, if you get that next lower high, then you're technically at that point, you're in a downtrend. And if price continues down, then of course we're into shorting, right? So if I were trading this and I were looking for sort of this, am I going to go with the trend or not? I would be in limbo right now, right? This would be in like, I don't know if this is still in an uptrend or not. I would be careful with it. Now I might do things in a lower time frame, but this was in an uptrend, and I actually took a long on this last night, and I did lose a small trade. I didn't put a lot on it, but I took a long right here, expecting the trend to continue because I had a nice pullback. It was higher. It was a mini uptrend inside, right, of this uptrend. And so I took a long on the pullback and I got rejected, and that does happen, right? It's just part of the game. Trade, I had algos ping. I had a lot of things saying that this was going to go to the top side based on algorithms. And when I see that happen, when I have algos pointing to long and then I get a rejection that's that strong, then I look at the major trend and say, okay, well, maybe we're starting to see a violation of the trend, right? And again, I will know if price goes below and closes below 117,240. On the daily is going to be the strongest indication, but it could be on the 3 hour, the 4 hour. You can look at it that way, if you want to. That's one way to look at it. But especially on the daily, that's when you're probably looking at the end of the deal, right? The end of the trend. So that being the case, we'll see, and we'll probably see in the next few hours as the market opens. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is holding above this, and I told my clients yesterday, based on some algos, that this move down is no longer necessarily the primary thesis, and that 111 to 115 might be the new range. We're going to see, but this 111,500 right now, price hasn't been able to break below it. And algorithmically, there is a chance that that might be a local low. Now, it doesn't mean, that price won't go below that, but there's some indication that price might not go below that for the meantime, right? We're going to see. It's at a point now where I don't have enough data to say either way. So what I expect to happen is possibly, and we're going to see, already a range has developed, but it's not necessarily going to last this long. And there is still liquidity up in this area where that yellow box is. It was there yesterday. It's still there today. I checked like 30 minutes ago. So it might be that price does pop up to that area, just liquidity, and we'll see about it. Good morning, V. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good.
What are we doing right now? Bitcoin?
We're talking about Bitcoin.
Awesome. Did I take a dump?
Do you need to take a dump? That's good.
No. I said it. Oh.
Go.
Did
Okay,
V. Did take a dump.
Go to the potty. No, it's actually holding for now. So it moved down over the weekend. There was a bit of a washout. There's a lot of liquidity sitting up at 115, like basically, let's just say 115.8 all the way up to 117. And it's been there for at least 24 hours. And price has not gone below 111,500. And I told everybody Algo Factory that like 12 hours ago, maybe, that I think that might be the bottom. I think maybe even more than 12 hours ago. I think that might be the local bottom. Now, it could go down later and all that, but what we might see possibly, and we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see which way it breaks out of this little range that it's created between basically 111.5 and 113. If price breaks up out of this and breaks higher than 113, let's just say 113,300, if it can break and close above that on like the 3 hour, 4 hour chart, there's a decent chance it's going to pop up to grab this 117 area, right? Where all that liquidity is. Like the middle of it's like 116 and a half. So there's a decent chance that happens. Now, once you start to see that kind of stuff, price might end up just kind of ranging out in the low 1 teens for a while. We'll see what happens with liquidity and algos and this and that and the other. But right now, there is a decent chance, based on some things I'm seeing in the algos, that we might be kind of nearing a local bottom, and then price might head up after that. But there's not enough data for me to like be confident in that statement, right? We need to see a little bit more data come through. But I mean, not the worst place to consider taking a long for the high time frame. And if you take a loss, you take a loss. Like, I mean, let's just say right now, let's say that you think that price is eventually going to go to 140. Let's say excuse me, pardon me. Let's say you have a high conviction play that Bitcoin is going to go to 140,000, right? Well, if you really thought that, and I'm not saying, this is an investment advice. This is a high time frame trade. I'm talking about a trade that you're sitting on for like weeks and weeks. You could put a stop loss below the support at, say, the support's at like 107. So you put one down a little bit lower below that. However you do your stops, there needs to be a methodology there. And then you could enter and then take profit at 140. And that's almost a 4-to-1 trade. It's not a bad way to go. And if you really are high conviction that price is not going to go below 107, then of course you could DCA and get, better positions here on the way up. Not a bad thesis. I don't have the data I need to make that call right now, but that's not a bad trade. That's a realistic trade. What do you think, V? Have you have you gotten any wind of what people are thinking about Bitcoin right now? Or do you want to save that for the private live lab?
I'll save that for the private.
Saving private.
I'll save that.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'll save that for the saving private parts. And for
right,
Thursday, that'll be a drip.
Say again.
That will be a drip for Thursday.
Okay, so we got some drips coming this week.
Yep.
Oh, good. Summertime's over finally, dude.
Yeah.
That's for those of you who are not that familiar with markets. Summertime is dead. Like, all the Wall Street guys, they're on their yacht with their European models, and they're or maybe they're with their family skiing in some place that has snow in the summer. But either way, though, there's not a lot going on in markets over the summer. So we have the what have we had? CPI came out, FOMC came out, Triple Witch came out, Powell spoke yesterday, and then we had the UN. And the UN meeting was interesting because we were just talking about this at the beginning of the show, and I'm gonna look at the Nasdaq first, and then we'll talk about what the UN's effect was. It caused me to lose a trade, which is painful, a little bit, but we'll talk about that in the private as well. But we also see here that was this on the 3 hour. So the Nasdaq actually came down, and I had a on the show yesterday. I talked about it. Where let me silence this guy here. So what I said yesterday was that either this is going to pop up and it's going to grab some of the higher targets, or you're going to see this come back down to grab some lower areas, and it was going to break up or break down. It was going to be one or the other. You had a consolidation at the top. You had a lot of people around the world talking. You had Trump going to do his address. Everybody's waiting for a lot of things the last 2 or 3 weeks, and finally we saw a move here. Now, does that mean that the Nasdaq is going to continue down? I mean, gosh, I think personally for the stock market to have a healthy correction, that would be nice. A nice, healthy correction, in an orderly one, like a huge correction, but over time. That would be helpful. Right now, I don't see it happening. We might get a correction, but I think it'll be short-lived. Let me look at the chart here. We had this huge gap up, but price came back to fill that gap. I mean, we might have seen the correction. It might be over. It could go as low as 24,650. That's realistic. A good area though for a month-long correction would be, I like to see 24,000. I like to see that Wednesday, that August 2025 peak. I want to see that grabbed. But I mean, it really hasn't grabbed it yet. Price took off from there, broke that all-time high on 12th September, then gapped up, and the gap got filled, but price never made its way back down to that area. So a nice correction at 24,000 would be healthy. We'll see if it happens. Remember, the markets must go up at this point. If the markets really start to correct and you get a major, major correction, you have a lot of problems that have to be dealt with. But either way, it's going to be what it's going to be. Via the Gorilla, I think it's time we go over to the private live lab. Can you get us over there so we can talk about what I think is going on with the dollar?
Absolutely. Guys, join us, algofactory.tech. Learn to trade like a hedge fund pro. Learn to take advantage of the chaos. And whether the market's up, whether the market's down, it doesn't matter, because we use the power of the algos to give us the leverage we need. Join us, algofactory.tech.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.